and welcome back to my channel. So I thought I would do a short little series on my whole moving process for you guys. So this first video is actually going to be sort of the pre-planning process. How did I actually plan my move and make sure that I didn't forget anything major? So as you can see, I have a couple of notebooks in front of me. I have my home bullet journal. I've got my Sidekick. This is the notebook that I bring with me in my purse, kind of wherever I go, because I don't want to carry, anything bulkier. And then I also have this random, honestly, this is an old 5-star notebook that a friend of mine brought with her from the US, but when she moved back to the US, she didn't want to bring it. So she was like, hey, could you use this notebook? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I've been using this a ton. So unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I had in here, I've actually since torn out. You guys can see, I tend to tear out the pages when they're done in here, but I'll show you guys what I have and sort of how I actually set up and planned for my move. So I think first we're going to take a look in my home bullet journal. So you guys have seen already let's see. So you guys have already seen my next apartment spreads. So when I actually went into, my old apartment was actually through a rental agency, and so I actually went through that rental agency to find this apartment. And so when I went in to have a meeting with them to say, okay, here's what I'm looking for, I actually brought this and went through. So all of my different specifications, my budget range, any of that kind of stuff, I actually went through and I was like, hey, this is what I want, this, and this. So I had my notes ready to go when I was talking to them. I do still need to go through. I've gotten a lot of stuff on here. I just haven't actually filled it in. Also, this needs to be filled in completely because I actually did save all the money that I needed to for my move, but I just, honestly, it wasn't as big of a priority for me to actually fill in these spreads as it was to just do the stuff. So this stuff was really just for me. Honestly, when I went into the agency, this was sort of what I showed him. I also had made some notes somewhere. So here, I also had made some notes over here. So I actually, when I went through this, and this was what I had done, what was this, over a year and a half ago maybe, when I had no idea specifically, but just sort of was thinking about in general, what would I like when I move. So I took this information and I was a little bit more precise. So I did have general, so just sort of general information, things that I really need to have in the apartment, things that I would like to have in the apartment, things to do with where the apartment is situated, and specific questions I have for them. So I actually wrote the headers in English, but a lot of this, the questions and stuff like that, I did go through and do in French since I had to do it, in French with the agency. So I have budget, I wanted to be in town center, I wanted between 40 to 50 square meters, and I had written down here 70 because I had no concept of how much space 40 to 50 square meters was. And for reference, the apartment I actually ended up getting is just under 45 square meters. So I was right within that range. I wanted 2 rooms. Ideally, I did not actually get that, but what I actually got works for what I need. I wanted at least first floor. So here we have ground floor, first floor and up. I didn't want to be on the ground floor. So I said, I want first floor or higher, and I want to be on a fairly calm, quiet street. So I actually am on a pedestrian street. There are, in the mornings up until 11, they have deliveries. So for the shops and stuff that are on the street, the trucks can come and make deliveries, but it's still pretty quiet overall. Then things that I were non-negotiables for me, I wanted a big kitchen. I wanted to have the possibility to hook up a washing machine. I wanted a lot of light, so a lot of natural light, especially in the living room. I wanted space for an office, so either in a second bedroom or have a big enough living room that I could kind of partition it off and have that. And then ideally, I wanted a balcony. I wanted a lot of storage space. I kind of wanted a bathtub, but when I was actually going through this, I was honestly, if I have to choose between a balcony and a bathtub, I'd rather have the balcony. The bathtub is whatever I can do with the shower. And I wanted to have trash pickup and recycling in the building, so I didn't have to go to one of the things out in town. I had written down a couple of ideas for location, and then I had to ask about, what is the cost of, going through the agency? How much would that cost? What's the procedure for moving out of my old apartment. Is it, you know, a month, 3 months of notice? Like, what is that? Asking about getting furniture delivered and sort of like the timeline for transferring over electricity and all that kind of stuff. So I just had kind of planned out these questions. And then when I was actually in the meeting, I had written down some notes in here. I actually just took like a blank page and I wrote down notes about the different apartments that he showed me. So I actually only like saw 2 apartments. So on the day that I was actually going to visit the apartments, I made this. So I have my visiting checklist. So when I visit, I wanted to make sure I took pictures and or video. I wanted to see if they had shutters on the windows so that I could block out light at night. I wanted to see how big the stairs are, because a lot of times in France, the buildings are really old. And so the stairs are really like narrow or rickety. They're not very like straight or whatever. So I wanted to see how good the stairs were. Check on water pressure, see if there was a hookup for the washing machine, how much storage was there, is there a way from like my front door to actually hear who is downstairs and to buzz them in, because my old place I didn't have that. And how exactly do you get into the main door, because I didn't want to have like a key. I really like we call it like a beep. So it's just a badge that you just like buzz yourself in, and it's really nice and fast. So in the evening you're not like fumbling around with your keys, you just tap your badge. So this was a general checklist, and then I also wrote down the specs for the apartments. I actually thought we were gonna see this apartment, but we ended up seeing this one. So anyway, but this is actually the apartment that I am currently living in. So you can see I only saw 2 apartments, but I wrote down some general information. And then after the visits, I wrote down some notes about the 2 apartments that I saw. And I actually left room in case I saw more apartments, but as you guys know, I didn't. Then once I had visited this apartment the first time, I actually tried to kind of do a little floor plan, because it's only a 1-bedroom, and so I wanted to make sure that I actually was going to have room to have both a couch and an office area in the living room. So this is not at all what it actually looks like right now. You guys will see when I kind of give you the tour later, but this was sort of my initial look at how things were maybe going to look in the apartment. And around this point, I realized that I needed more like scratch paper to do this, because this was not a final thing. So rather than doing it in here, I actually moved into doing lists and stuff in this notebook. So I don't actually know if I have no, I think I tore it out. So I actually had a series of just like really quick sketches for layouts and stuff like that. Here you can see I have, you know, things to get ASAP, things to get soon, things to get eventually. I had a whole list of my deliveries for IKEA. I actually had this folded up in my purse because this order actually ended up getting canceled. So I've had to buy this stuff on my own because it just never came. That's a whole different situation. You guys will hear about that in the moving vlog. I have things for, you know, when I had to call for electricity. I had to call IKEA because I ended up having half of my order get canceled. So I had a ton of different pages in here that honestly, as I finished them, I just tore them out and threw them away. So that was sort of how I made lists of the things that I needed to buy, you know, the stuff I needed to order on IKEA, initial floor plan layouts for the apartment. You know, if I had to call anybody, I did the phone call notes on here. And then what I've been doing lately, because I initially was going to have pretty much everything delivered by IKEA, but I actually ended up needing to get a lot of this stuff locally because that order got canceled. So what I've been doing is making little lists in here. So let's see if I can find kind of the first thing. So I started making some notes on, you know, finalize IKEA, find time to go to Comforama. I ended up getting them from Darty. So, you know, I made some notes on here. I had to go in to see my internet company 3 different times because I didn't have the right piece of information in order to transfer it over. So I had a whole page of notes on that. This was not really moving stuff. Here, I had to go run a ton of errands, so I just had some notes written down for who I had to go see, any like account numbers or whatever information I needed to deal with. This was starting a list of random things that I hadn't actually like planned to get, but now that I saw the apartment, I was like, oh, this would be nice to have. And I've actually ended up I got a fair number of these things or I've migrated them to another list because it was getting kind of messy. Here was like, put my name on my mailbox. Here I had to have the plumber come. I had a couple of various things over here. This was stuff that I originally had in the IKEA order that I then needed to buy, I started making a list over here. I have a couple things over here. This is all stuff related to moving. This is stuff related to moving. And then here I've rewritten, so the things I still need to get for the apartment, so that when I go out and I'm, you know, out and about in town doing some errands, I actually have my list of the stuff I'm looking for. And so as I, you know, as I'm in the apartment longer, I'm seeing like, oh, like this is something I'd really like to have, or no, this one I actually don't need. And so I'm trying to keep this list up to date so that if I'm out and about and I see something, I can look on my list and see if it's something that I was actually looking for, if it's something that's more of an impulse purchase. So that honestly is how I've been doing, how I planned a lot of my move. I did also use my PROJO. So if you guys saw my March plan with me-ish, you will have seen a lot of this stuff, but this entire section was all stuff related to the move. So I had it in one place and I could kind of refer to it and make sure that I was getting that stuff done. I also used in my weeklies, I also used in my weeklies, so for example, 2 weeks ago, here we go. So I had, for example, stuff related to the move and stuff related to the apartment. So 2 of my key projects were actually about the move, and I had stuff over here that was related to the move. This stuff was all related to the move. So I did for specific tasks. I might have brainstormed them on that big notebook that I showed you, but when I actually got down to it, I would put them on this weekly, so I'd make sure that I would eventually either do them or move them onto my dailies so that I would plan on, like, this particular day, I'm hoping to do this. So that is pretty much how I planned my move. I guess, initially had planned to make things a little bit more permanent and do more in my home bullet journal. But as I was actually going through, it happened so quickly that it was just easier for me to do things either in, you know, that big random notebook and in my little sidekick notebook or in my PROJO. Just things changed kind of rapidly and I was trying to get stuff done really quickly that it just didn't really make sense to take the time to do like nice, neat spreads in here when I needed to get it done. So that's how I sort of, you know, planned how I was going to move. The next video is going to be all about my actual moving process. So I tried to film a vlog to show you guys the different steps and how I went through and moving and setting up and all that kind of stuff. So that will be coming soon. If you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them down below and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Hey guys, so if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and are actually watching my end screen and you're not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would. There's a little button right there for you to do it. And if you're interested in watching some more of my videos, I have links to 2 of my older videos off to the left there, so you can check those out if you would like to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.